I was like, okay, someone's talking. I was just like, okay, whoa. Okay, so yeah, let's get into it. So just by, I guess, like, you can use the chat, or folks can just, you can keep your cameras off, or you could just, turn your mics on. But before coming to this workshop or entering the space, it's like, has anyone heard of ballroom, or have you seen anything ballroom related? You can send an emoji or send something just to like respond. But I just want to get a general census of the folks in the room to just know if any of you folks heard of it before. So let's see. See what the chat's saying. See what the chat's saying. So some folks have heard of it before. Some folks have seen it. Great. Okay, so some people know. Yeah, through Legendary. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so yeah, so this so this workshop, right, will center around the history of ballroom, where ballroom originated from, who are the founders of ballroom, the people that it comes from. So that's basically what this workshop is going to be about. It's also going to touch on some of the ballroom history that's in Toronto, because there is a very rich ballroom scene in Toronto that not many people know about. So I'll definitely be talking about that. And to finish off, I'll be talking about my experience in ballroom as well. So just right off the bat, we can start with ballroom. Ballroom is unapologetically Black and it's unapologetically queer. So the ballroom scene was founded in Harlem, New York between the 1960s and the 1970s, like around that era. So the way ballroom culture as we know it originated from, so it actually started with drag ball culture. So like, I'm sure folks have seen RuPaul's Drag Race. So it actually originated from that, in the sense where there were drag queens and they also would participate in things like pageants and things like that. So the pageant and the ball scene were mostly predominated by white queer folks. I mean, it was the 1920s, so obviously that's what it was giving. So many folks who were POC and Black and Latinx were not able to participate in these balls that they would that these white queer folks would be putting on in the queer scene in New York at the time. So basically, where ballroom culture as we know it originated from, it actually originated as a way to create space for ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I mean Black, Latinx, queer, and trans people. So that's where the ballroom scene originates from. So it comes from a shared struggle of not being included, not having a space that you feel welcomed in. So that's why ballroom is so unapologetically Black and is so unapologetically queer. Like, there truly is nothing like it, because it really was born from people who were truly going through a struggle. So that's why the ballroom scene, as you can tell, is mostly occupied by Black and Latinx and POC and brown folks and stuff like that. So like, that's why most of the photos you'll see, even today, it's mostly occupied by those people, because ballroom was a space that was created by those people, for those people in a sense. And the real, I would say, cornerstones of the ballroom community are Black and Latinx trans women. So Black and Latinx trans women were truly the ones that started the scene. They were the ones that paved the way for the rest of the girls, so to say. And really, like, they are the leaders of our community, and they're the ones that we aspire to be and look up to, because they have always been, well, in terms of intersectionality, they have always been on the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the bottom. Like, their intersections are the most injustice, the intersections are the most silent. So that's where ballroom comes from. Ballroom comes as a form of resistance. And that's why most of the times when you see a lot of the protests that go on in the States, like, you'll see the Black queer people out voguing, because Vogue is a form of protest. Like, it was born out of a way to protest and for us to show our voices and to show that we're here as a community. So that's where ballroom comes from. So Harlem, New York, 1960s between 1970s. So that's like a brief history about ballroom. So now I'm gonna get into some ballroom terminology, just to clarify some things for you folks, and just so that the language is like not unknown. So in case when you leave this workshop, and you hear about ballroom, you'll be able to understand some of the lingo, hopefully. So the first one we can start with is a house. So what is a house? So a house is essentially your family. So a house works in, I would say, a traditional family sense. There's a house mother and a house father, and then all the other members of the house are the house children. So I can go through each of the roles. So the house mother essentially works as a traditional mother figure. She's a female figure in your life who, like, you know, is usually an older member in the ballroom scene who guides the youth. So for example, my house mother is Tamar and Nine. So Nine would be, she's the Toronto house mother, and then Tamar is the overall house mother for our house because we have different chapters of our house in different cities across Canada and the world. So that's, I guess, the role of a mother. So like the role of a mother is really to be that nurturing kind of role model. Like, you know, it's a very traditional motherly role and a motherly figure in your life. Show you how to take care of yourself and definitely provide you that education that sometimes queer kids can't get from their real parents. And they serve as that type of role model and that type of person that you can come to with anything. So for example, my mother, Nine, me and Nine are like so close. Like I tell Nine more stuff than I do my own parents sometimes, because she just understands me on that other level that like my biological parents just don't understand me on. So that is what a house mother is. A house father works in a similar way. So fatherly figure is the one who like protects the kids. You know, the house, don't get me wrong, the house mother is definitely right out to protect for the kids too, don't get me wrong. But the house father is definitely to be that male figure in your life. My house father, his name is Caesar. He lives in New York and he travels between Toronto and New York to see the kids. So yeah, he's definitely that role model. He's definitely that person at the ball who is hyping you up in the back. He's supposed to be that who is your go person, that person who is always going to be your cheerleader, but is very stern in terms of how you carry yourself and, you know, the image that you portray and how you portray the house and stuff like that. So very loving. House mother and house fathers are supposed to be very loving, and I find that my house parents are very loving, and they essentially guide you through your queer life, because again, your biological parents, most of the time, a lot of the time, especially when we're talking about Black queer folks, they don't get that from their parents. So a house mother and a house father really act as those like pseudo parent figures in your life, and they really help shape you and mold you and guide you to be a better person. So yeah, so that's a house mother, house father. And then obviously the house children are very explanatory. So like I would be considered a house child of the house of Louboutin. And then all the other children would be considered my siblings. So I have my sisters, my brothers. And it really does work as like a traditional family sense. Like the people who are in your house are your family. You look out for each other, you take care of each other. And yeah, it really works as a traditional family sense. And yeah, that's what a house is. So it basically works as a traditional family unit. So that's a house. So category. So I'm sure a lot of you folks have heard, like, you know, the category is this, the category is that. So in ballroom, there's actually like hundreds of categories and subcategories. So essentially what a category is basically a theme or a certain, we could call it an event that you would walk at a ball, for example. So there are multiple categories. The main categories that people see are Vogue performance. That's the one that's all over the internet because all the girls want to learn how to Vogue, even though they don't know how to, no shade. But you know, that's what most people see on the internet. So that's one category that people see. Another category is face. So face is very much what it sounds like. You're selling the structure of your face. Just like Vogue, there's 5 elements of face: teeth, nose, skin, the eyes, and the structure. Those are the 5 elements of face. I'll also be linking stuff for you folks at the end, so you can actually see what these categories look like in case any of you are curious. Another category is like sex siren. So sex siren is very much exuding sexual energy. You basically want the crowd to like desire you and want you. Like that is the whole purpose of sex siren, and that is what the category is. So yeah, a category is basically a certain theme or a certain event that you walk at a ball, and each category has its own set of rules, do's and don'ts. But yeah, so that's what a ballroom category is. A ball, pretty self-explanatory. The balls are the actual events that the houses attend. So at a ball, the way that it works is that you walk in different categories against other houses for trophies, prizes, money, etc. So yeah, the ball is the actual physical event that you attend. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go to a ballroom, but I'm like, no, it's not a ballroom, it's a ball. So that's what a ball is. It's the actual event that you attend. You would walk your category, or you can come as a spectator. It's up to you. So another term, legend, legendary status. So a legend, basically, a legend is basically a person who is phenomenal in their category, and a legend has to be nominated by other legends to reach legendary status. So there is a lot of legends in the ballroom scene. So an example of a legend would be like Laomi. A lot of people know who Laomi is. They've seen her on TV. Laomi is also an icon, which we're going to get into after. So basically, a legend is, it's very self-explanatory. Someone who is extremely talented in their category, with whatever that is. You can be a legend in every category, or in any category, I should say. So they're basically people who have been walking for a long time and have gained respect from the community and have gained recognition for their talent. So that is what a legend / what legendary status is. So if you ever hear someone say, the legend, insert name here, that's how that title is given to them. You only get that title when you're deserving of it. And it's a very heavy title to hold, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. So an icon is kind of a step above a legend. So icons are people who are recognized within the ballroom scene, but also get recognized in heteronormative society. So usually via television, or any kind of social media or recognition on social media, who is already a legend. So icons usually are affiliated with being famous not only in ballroom, but also outside of ballroom. So if any of you folks have watched Legendary, the TV show that's on HBO Max, Laomi and Deshawn are considered legends and icons because they've been both recognized in the ballroom scene and in the real world. So that's what a legend and an icon is. So butch queen, femme queen. So a butch queen, very simple. A butch queen is essentially referring to a gay man. So I would be referred to as a butch queen. So that is what the girls would be calling me. I am a butch queen. And then a femme queen actually refers to a trans woman. So if you hear anyone ever screaming femme queen, they're referring to a trans woman, and it's supposed to big them up. Femme queens, or AKA trans women, are very highly respected in ballroom because, again, they are the ones who created this. They created this space. They created ballroom as we know it. So they are held up to the highest degree in ballroom. Utmost respect for femme queens. We protect our femme queens. We protect them. We make sure that they get home safe at night. Femme queens / trans women are held to a high regard in ballroom and are protected by the girls, as it should be. So, right. And then, last one, reading / shade. So reading is actually an essential part of ballroom. No matter where you go, a lot of people think it's very kumbaya, let's hold hands around the fire. Ballroom is that, but also when it's competition, it's time for competition. Reading is also part of ballroom. So basically what reading is it's pretty self-explanatory. Reading is essentially you're trying to one up the other person. You're throwing verbal blows at the other person. You're trying to get under the person's skin. So that's what reading is. So, and reading happens at the balls a lot. So usually it happens if a girl is walking her category and it's not really giving, she will get read. And a lot of the times reading, how it's supposed to happen is basically when you're reading each other off the stage, you're supposed to be battling it out on the floor, whatever your category is. And that's how you settle disputes in ballroom. If you have a beef with somebody, let's take it out on the floor. Let's battle it out, whatever our category is. Let's battle in face. Let's battle in Vogue performance, whatever our category is. You take it out on the floor. That's how it should be. Doesn't always happen like that, but that's how it should be. So that's reading and shade. So shade is very self-explanatory. I'm sure people have heard shade outside of the ballroom context as well. So it's pretty much the same thing. That's where it comes from. It's basically you're dissing people. That's what shade is. It's not supposed to be nice. And that's basically how it works, reading and shade. So those are some basic ballroom terminology, terms that you would hear on the streets, or if you ever attend a ball, you would definitely be hearing these words. So now you actually know what they mean and you can actually like use them properly. So yeah, so a little bit of terminology for you folks. And then, yeah, the Toronto ballroom scene. So compared to the ballroom scene in the States, the Toronto ballroom scene is fairly young. So it was founded in the mid 2000s and was brought over from the States by Toronto into Toronto by Father Seven, who is a house father in the Toronto scene. So he was the one who actually brought it over from the US and brought it to Toronto. And then it spread to other parts of Canada as well. So now there's a Montreal scene, there's a Vancouver scene. I also believe there's a scene in like Calgary, I think. I've seen clips out there of the girls like voguing and doing some stuff out there. So like slowly but surely, ballroom is definitely making its way across Canada. It's definitely not as big as the States, of course, because, you know, the tradition of it is just more like instilled in queer culture in the States. So it's slowly becoming that in Canada. You know, more and more people are learning about ballroom, but, you know, that's why we have things like this so that queer folks can get connected and actually be a part of the ballroom scene if they want to do that. And then, yeah, so the TKBA, which is the Toronto Kiki Ballroom Alliance, was founded in 2013, led by Father Seven and a lot of other cornerstones in the community. So like Father Twisted Siriano. I know I'm dropping a lot of names, but like it's important to name these names because these people are truly the people who founded the scene and started the culture here. So they have to be recognized. So yeah, so the Toronto Kiki Ballroom Alliance is basically a group of Black and Latinx and POC queer folks and also white queer folks as well. And it's basically a community. You can actually join the group on Facebook if any of you folks are curious about ballroom in Toronto. We post all our events there. We post all the upcoming balls. We post everything that's related to the scene in Toronto will be on that Facebook page. So if you go to Facebook and type in Toronto Kiki Ballroom Alliance, it will come up. You can request to join the group and someone in the group will let you in. If they don't let you in, just try again. But they'll most likely let you in. But yeah, so it's a great space, especially in Toronto for Black queer folks to meet other Black queer folks. Because truth be told, before I was in ballroom, like I knew there was Black queer folks in Toronto. Like obviously I knew that, but when you're in ballroom, you really meet everybody, like everybody. It's such a great place to meet other people. It's such a great place to meet other people with experiences like your own, and that's so validating. It's so extremely validating to literally talk to someone who has lived the exact same life as you and has walked the same walk as you, and not knowing you're not alone out there and you're not crazy for how you feel because there's literally someone who's done the same thing as you. It's also a good place to go to reach out to like elders in the community because it's so important to talk to like older Black queer folks who have already lived the life, honestly, and are able to give you advice and are able to give you wisdom and insight on how to like go about your life because, you know, navigating spaces as a Black queer person, whether you're a Black gay man, a Black gay woman, or a trans woman, a trans man, it's very complicated. It's a very complicated intersections and very complicated identities to navigate on your own as a young person. So ballroom is a great place to go and find resources. Yeah, so they also connect folks with resources like HIV resources if they need HIV medication, PrEP, condoms, things like that. HIV prevention is like super instilled in ballroom and super instilled because, you know, as you know, like it disproportionately impacts Black queer people the most. So it's a good resource to have if you need any type of assistance navigating HIV, AIDS, that kind of stuff. So definitely reach out to that group if you want to get involved and if you want to know more about the community. So yeah, encourage you folks to do that. I can also link all this stuff at the end as well for anybody who wants that. So I will do that. And then, yeah, so I'm gonna finish off with my house and my ballroom experience. So yes, I am Paris Louboutin of the Toronto House of Louboutin and Darling. As you can tell by the photos, we are a very fab house. We serve looks, we are known for face, we are known for realness, we are known for those things. So yeah, my ballroom experience has been short compared to other folks in the photos. So I've only been in ballroom, I actually did the math the other day. So I've only been in ballroom for 1 year and 8 months, exactly. So in that time, it's been an amazing year and 8 months. I'm not gonna lie. I have been able to do so many things because I've been in ballroom. It connects you to so many different opportunities. So, for example, like I said, I've only been in ballroom for a year and a half, a year and a little bit, and I'm what's it called? I have gotten things on TV. I've gotten interviews. I've gotten things like that. I've been a part of documentaries. Like, it's truly such an amazing experience to be in a ballroom house and in the scene, because it gives you so many things to do. And like, even something like this, like if I wasn't in ballroom, I wouldn't even be here doing this presentation for you folks. So like, it's such a good way to open up an avenue for Black queer folks who are talented and have something to offer. Like if they really want something they want to leave on the world and they want to express it through one of the art forms in ballroom, I invite you to do that, because it's such an amazing space. Like, of course, it comes with, drama, shade, of course, because, that's always what it's going to give no matter where you are. But it's also a great place to meet other people and to learn more about yourself. Because honestly, what I will say about being in ballroom is it has taught me so much about myself in such a short amount of time. Because the whole point of ballroom is truly to be unapologetically yourself and have the world take you as you are. And that's what ballroom is instilled in. And I've been able to take the lessons of ballroom and bring that everywhere else, because I've always been a confident person, but ballroom has turned my confidence up to 100, because when you're on the floor walking against other girls, you have to be unmovable. You have to be unmovable. You have to be so like confident in yourself and know who you are as a person to be able to deliver on that floor. So ballroom has truly have taught me so many life lessons. Even though like I'm in my 20s, it has still taught me so much. And I feel like I still have so much to learn. And it's a great resource for information. It's a great place to learn about yourself and to discover yourself and discover new things about yourself. And I can attest to that to most, especially because, for example, the category that I walk Vogue Femme Performance. So that's basically, so what you see on TV, but so voguing, that's what it is. And what I will say about voguing is that voguing is not like any other dance. Not only do you bust a sweat like no other voguing, but the way that voguing is, for you to get the crowd up, for you to actually be able to relay a message, you have to first feel it inside of yourself. You have to first feel it inside of yourself, because if you don't feel it inside of yourself, it's not going to translate to the people who are watching you. And it basically forces you to tell a story. Tell us something about you through your dance, essentially, is what Vogue is. Because again, Vogue was created by Black trans women. So like, it's very telling about how the movements work. It's very feminine. It's very fluid. You can see how it works. And like the whole point of Vogue Femme was to accentuate the feminine body, because they were trans women who wanted to be confident in themselves as women. So that's why Vogue Femme is so reflective of that. And you can see that in the dance. It's hyper feminine, because that's where it stems from. It stems from trans women and the impression that they want to leave on the world, and the message that they're trying to relay with their dance form. So yeah, Vogue is great. Even if you're not a dancer, Vogue is just a good way to center yourself. It's a good thing to do if you're ever stressed out, because let me tell you, after work and when I go to practice and I Vogue, I be voguing down, because I have something to leave on that floor. Because it's either if you're stressed, it's a good place to leave that out there it's a good place to just let the energy go. And it's a good outlet. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a good outlet for anything you're going through. So I Vogue all the time now. So like if I'm stressed, I'll Vogue, I'll pump a beat real quick, and it helps me kind of center myself. So yeah, that is ballroom, brief video on ballroom, and my experience in ballroom. So yeah, so we're gonna Vogue now. We're gonna get into the voguing. If does anyone have any questions for me, or if there's anything that people want to clarify, you can turn on your mics. You don't have to turn on your cameras. You can turn on your mics and just ask me anything. I would love to answer some questions. If anyone has questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so how many houses usually complete in a ball?
So it depends where you go. So in Toronto, because oh my gosh, so COVID has really purged a lot of the houses. So there's like only a few houses left. So at the balls, it's House of Pink Ladies in Toronto, House of Louboutin, House of Siriano, um, House of Old Navy. I think is still open. So you can expect anywhere from 4 houses to like 8 houses. Like if we go to the States, they get really big. The balls be going on for a long amount of time. But you can expect anything from 4 to 8 houses depending on where you are and what city you're in and what country you're in. Yeah.
Okay. And my other question is, what's the worst you've seen somebody get red?
I honestly can't say the worst because the ones that I've experienced have been severe. So the worst I ever got someone red. Usually people get really red if they're walking a ball and they're just not delivering. They'll just be like, who is this girl? Why is she walking? Who does she think she is? Because like ballroom is very like, what I will say about ballroom is that there is no space for mediocrity in ballroom, no matter who you are. Like there's no space for it. It's all about like, I wouldn't say it's all about excellence. Like it's very much take you as you is, but there are certain things that the categories call for. And if you don't deliver what the category calls for, then you're gonna get a chop. So and it's not gonna be pretty. So that's basically what it is, and like what it's not good. Like usually when someone's walking a ball and they're just not delivering, that's usually when people get red the most. No shade. It's not cute. It's not fun. But yeah, that's probably the worst. When someone is not delivering at a ball. The secondhand embarrassment is real. I see people are typing. Let me open this. How do I do that? Okay, there we go. Okay, so people were just commenting on what I was saying. Okay. Does anyone have any more questions? Any terminology or anything you've heard through the grapevine that you would want to know? Are there a lot of cis women in the ballroom scene? Okay, it's funny that you said that. So there is. There's actually a whole Vogue performance for them called Women's Performance. And like Women's Performance usually is cis women. A lot of the cis women are usually queer. So they're usually like lesbians or like, or bisexual women. But there are definitely cis women in the ballroom scene, for sure. There are. Yeah. A known house that consists of a lot of cis women is the House of Ninja. They're really known in Europe, and the House of Ninja was actually founded by Willie Ninja. He is one of the people. If you've ever seen Paris is Burning, he is one of the main, I guess, characters. So Willie Ninja is this gentleman right here sitting on the seat. So he actually was the founder of the House of Ninja. And he's the one who actually brought Vogue to Europe, parts of Asia. And that's how it got so popular worldwide, is because he brought it overseas. So that's actually the history of like how ballroom and how Vogue specifically was able to infiltrate so many countries worldwide, is because Willie Ninja brought it there. Like he literally taught classes across the world and taught people in Europe, taught people in Asia how to Vogue. And it's honestly amazing. You can research more about him because his story is really interesting and really fascinating. Yeah, to answer your question, there are cis women in ballroom, yes. Any other questions? Everyone good? No other questions? Cool. Okay, so, okay, so let me, I'm gonna turn off my video and audio real quick so I can set up the voguing stuff, and then I'll be back with you folks shortly. See all things, we're going to be doing all of that. So I'm going to be pumping a beat real quick, so you folks can actually like see what the elements look like all together, and then I will be breaking down each of them individually. For this part, for just the performance part of it, so I can show you folks, I would invite you just to turn off your mic so there's not any feedback. And then when we get into like actually learning the elements, if you folks want to turn on your cameras, you can. I hope you do, because I don't want to just be teaching the elements to my reflection, because that would just be really awkward. So, you know, even if a little 1-2 person does it, that's good for me. And then, yeah, we'll be breaking down all the elements. So before I start, so the elements of Vogue are hand performance, catwalks, duck walks, spins and dips, and floor performance. So those are the 5 elements of Vogue. So I'm gonna be pumping a beat and I'm gonna be demonstrating the 5 elements real quick. And then, yeah, we can get right into learning the elements, okay? So let's pump the beats. I can find the beats. Okay, here we go. Folks hear that? Is that cute? So yes, that's the elements of Vogue, girl. So those are the elements. That's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to be feminine. Girl, let me get some water. Woo! So yes. Turn on your mics. What did you folks think? Were you expecting what you were expecting, or what's up? Woo!
I was just thinking about how I can never do that. Like, my body cannot move at all, and it cannot do that. So, we love to see it.
Thanks, sister. Thank you. Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot figuring how to put it all together. But yeah, that was my little demonstration. So we can go into the elements again. And then at the end, I can vote for you folks some more if you want to see some more. So I have no problem doing that, because you don't have to tell me twice to Vogue. I love voguing. So we can start with hands. So I'm gonna stand so you folks can see it. But yeah, hand performance is really fun. It's really good at telling a story. Right. So with hands, the way it basically works with hands is it's a lot of geometrical shapes. So with hands, you can do circles. With hands, you can do small circles, big circles, right? Taps are also part of hands, right? You can make lines, also part of hands. And basically, the way that hands and the way that any element works is when you are doing them, you want to accentuate everything on the crash. So for example, the way that every traditional Vogue beat works, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, crash. And when you hear the crash, that's when you would accentuate. So for example, if you're doing a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the 4, you'd accentuate crash, right? So any type of exclamation you want to do is on a crash. So that's the part that you want to accentuate, you want to do, right? So for every basic person who wants to learn how to do like basic hands, so basic hands consists of a very simple motion. So they're called figure eights, and figure eights are a staple for hand performance. Like you have to learn how to do them because there's a lot of technique involved in Vogue that a lot of people don't know about. They just think it's like me waving my hands all crazy. Like, no, bro, there's a system to this. And that's how it works. So I'm gonna try my best to show you folks, even though like I'm facing you. So what it's supposed to look like in the end, we're obviously gonna go slow, but what it's supposed to look like in the end is this. So they're called figure eights because as you can see, I'm making a figure eight motion with my hand, right? So let's start with this. This is my right. So let's do our right, okay? So basically how it's gonna work, when you do hand performance, you wanna pretend that your hands, like your actual hands are hanging from a string. Limp wrist, it's very gay, very gay. So limp wrist, it's almost like there's no motion in your wrist. If the motion stops at your wrist, the hands don't do anything else, right? So to do a simple figure eight, what you're gonna do, so take your right hand, right? We're gonna go up across the face, let me back up across the face, flick, right? Come around, go down, flick, okay? Bring it back up across the face, up, flick, down, flick, okay? So let's go again. Up across the face, palm facing out, flick, bring it back around, again, down, flick, up, flick. Okay, so let's just go a little bit faster. Flick, 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 flick. Okay, let's just keep going, let me see. Let's keep going, let me see. You're like, it's not making sense. Okay, okay, so again, so remember, limp wrist, right? The palm is faced out. And this, when the palm is faced out, we're bringing it up across the face, right? Up across the face, up. So that's ahead of the eight. Then when your palm is out like this, you're gonna bring it across and then down. And the palm is still out, right? Palm is still out, flick, right? Flick, okay? So yes, that's a basic figure eight motion. So just remember that motion because it's a staple for everything that you do in terms of hands. It all kind of centers around that movement. So for example, when you learn how to do it on both sides, it will look like this. You can also bring it above your head like this, right? So when you get used to that figure eight motion, so that is basically the staple motion for circles in hand. So that is a move you have to know to do Vogue performance. So that is one of the motions, right? The other parts of hands are very simple. So like I said, taps, you can tap the body, you know, make it very feminine, right? Tap your body, tap the parts of your body, make it very feminine, right? So taps are another element. And then circles are also very self-explanatory. So like I said, you can do big circles, little circles. You can circle out, right? You can circle out. Basically do it with two hands, circle, circle, right? So basically consists of those figure eights, taps, and circles. And I'll show you also the foot placement because the foot placement is also important because you don't want to be looking crazy. So like I said, Vogue performance was created by trans women. So it's hyper feminine. So when you're doing hands, you're basically sitting with the hip out like this. One foot, oh, let me put the foot down so you can see it. One foot is down like this, right? Hip is out. It's very feminine, very feminine. Because you don't want to be giving hands like this. Unless you're doing that on purpose, and that's more advanced. But like, you know, it's very giving this. Because this looks more feminine than this, right? This is very feminine. This is giving very lady. So it's very, you're gonna put all the weight on the leg that, with the foot that is flat. So you're gonna have one foot up like this, almost like you're wearing a heel on the one that's standing up, and the one that's flat, you're gonna put all your weight into that hip. Like you're sitting like this, literally, like a lady. Right? So that's what it's getting. And then you would give your hand performance in this position. Right? Does that make sense to folks? Are people getting that? Cool? Okay, so the next element we can get into are catwalks. Ooh, teaching catwalks over Zoom. Ooh, okay. Okay, so catwalks. The basic posture for a catwalk, I'm gonna warn you folks from right now, everything in Vogue feels unnatural, it feels uncomfortable, it's not fun. So, but that's what gives it the illusion of femininity because it's not supposed to look comfortable or supposed to be comfortable. So that's what it's giving, okay? So when you are doing a catwalk, the best way to describe it, you're gonna be on your tippy toes because everything in Vogue is on your tippy toes because you're also giving the illusion that you're in a heel, even if you're not in a heel. So it's always on your tippy toes, right? So the best way to do a catwalk, before we even put in hands, put your hands on your hips like this, right? Go in your tippy toes, sit like you're almost sitting in a bicycle seat. Ass out, chest out. Like I said, very feminine, very feminine. And when you take a step, I'm gonna put the camera down so you can see my feet. When you take a step, so I'm gonna step with my right leg first, right? So when you take a step in the bicycle position, right? Butt out, chest out, right? When you take a step, you're gonna take a step across. Hip out, right? Hip is out. Very feminine, because this isn't feminine. This is feminine. And the torso will remain forward while the hips sit like this. So you're gonna put your weight in your hips. And every time you take a step, you're taking a step across, 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 right? So right, get into your basic bicycle position, get comfortable in it, take your first step, whatever foot you're comfortable in, and make sure you step across, hip out, right? Hip out, hip out, out, Does that make sense? Do folks understand that? Yeah? Let's get some, good? Okay, so yeah, so that's what it's supposed to look like. So remember the bicycle seat position, booties out, chest is out, right? And then you step across. So I'll do it a little sped up without hands so you folks can see it. So up, right? And then honestly, a good way to learn is by putting your hands on your hips and almost like going like that. Get used to this motion. This will help you sit in your catwalks better. And the deeper you sit in your catwalks, the more feminine it looks. Because when you're up here, you can do it like this when you're trying to get hands up. But to actually have a very feminine looking catwalk, you have to be a little closer to the ground, right? Like that, right? And then even when you incorporate hands, so the basic catwalk step is like, so you know when you walk and you usually swing with the opposite arm when you walk, like this, right? So basically it works the same when you Vogue. So whatever hand you're stepping out with, you're gonna put the opposite hand out. And this resting hand is gonna go like this. So the motion you're looking at is this. This is a basic catwalk hand motion. And it looks like I'm going forward, right? But when you step, right, again, opposite foot to opposite hand, you're not gonna go forward, you're gonna almost go across and kind of keep your elbows together because it looks more feminine like this. So I'll show you an example of what it's not supposed to look like. Because this, going straight, right? That looks crazy. That's what you see on RuPaul's Drag Race when the girls can't Vogue. That's what you see. To actually Vogue, the hands go across because this is feminine. This is not feminine at all, okay? So let's do it from the back. So I'm just gonna show you folks before I let you folks do it. So again, you guys see an example. Oh, let me tilt the camera back down. So you see an example of this is what it's supposed to look like, okay? Right, so when you do the step, again, bicycle position, right? Remember the position, step foot out, opposite hand, right? Okay, so when you're doing a catwalk, across, right? It's almost making a V position because it looks more feminine, right? We can all agree it looks more feminine than that, right? So that's what it's supposed to give with the basic catwalk, okay? So I invite you folks now to, we can do a few catwalks around our rooms to a basic Vogue beat. And then you folks can like actually hear what it's supposed to sound like with the crash, with the 4 count. It's a very simple structure in terms of how that is. So I'll just play the regular beat so you folks can get into that. Okay, so I'll turn it down for now, but like you can hear it. So on the 4, like I said, with hands, everything is accentuated on the crash. Right, okay? So now we can just do some catwalks around our rooms. Yes, Nicole! Yes! Okay, so do you folks understand what I'm talking about in terms of the 4 count? Like, do you folks get it now? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, crash. And every Vogue beat centers around that same structure. Okay, I have to go dry myself, girl. I sweat. 1 second. Woo. Okay. Q. So we've covered basic hands, we've covered basic catwalk, okay? So, what are you folks saying in the comment? No, I promise you, when COVID is over and we have an in-person workshop, I promise I'll help everybody. I'll help everybody get their elements, okay? I'm doing my best over this Zoom chat, child, so let's go. Okay, so the next element we're gonna get into are duck walks. So I'm gonna warn you folks from now, if you're not strongly inclined in your knees and or ankles and or quad muscles, it ain't for you, baby. So, but we can try, okay? We can try. So for a duck walk, right? Here we go. So I'm gonna tilt it even lower so you guys see my feet. So with the duck walk, okay? You're sitting in this position, right? Bum is arched out, and then you use your knees as a counterbalance and just bounce. Just try doing that, just bounce. Keep your feet together, well, close together, not completely together, but close together, right? Use your knees as a counterbalance and just bounce. Just try bouncing first. Get used to that feeling. Right? Okay. So just bounce. And then when you actually do the actual duck walk, right? When you take a step, when you bounce up, you're gonna be almost kicking your foot out. So, right, just like that. That's a duck walk. That's a duck walk. So that's basically what the motion is. So I always tell people that doing duck walks slow is the hardest thing in the world, because it is. But doing duck walks slow are like, it's like torture. So it's actually better to do them faster. So like I said, so get into that position, use your knees as a counterbalance, right? You don't want to be going like this. Use your knees to balance you forward so that you don't fall back. And then you're gonna almost do a hop, and then as you hop, you kick your feet out interchangeably, and you take a step, right? So, like that. So that is a duck walk. That's a basic duck walk. So again, I'll play a beat. I can do it sped up so you folks can see it, and then I can watch you folks just practice the motion really quick. Okay, so that's what it is. And then, so when it comes to the hands of the duck walk, right? I see people looking at me and be like, girl, how are you doing this? I promise this does not happen overnight. It takes months, years of practice to get it. So don't beat yourselves up if you can't do it. It's a beginner class, that is what's supposed to give, okay? So very much the way that the figure 8 works, again, applies to the duck walk. So when you're doing your hands, you're almost scooping it. Scoop, scoop. And it kind of works when you're bouncing, right? You feel it more. And as you can see, like it's making that figure 8 motion. So, and that's what I was talking about, how that figure 8 shape is a staple in a lot of the other elements. So you see how it carries over to other elements, right? So that's why it's important to practice that motion so that you can apply it to other things, because it's almost like the staple motion for other elements as well. Okay, so do folks just want to practice their duck walks real quick to the beat? You don't have to do it for long because I know it's hard, but yeah, we can just do that. I'm just gonna go off a little bit, so don't mind me. Just do what you can. Go off, Isaiah. Yes. Woo. Yes. Okay. So those are duck walks. How's everyone feeling about that? I know that one's a lot. That one's a lot. Okay. So, no, it's okay, sis. It's okay. Yeah, girls, Vogue, like I said, voguing is hard, but it's fun. Yes, come on to the chat. Yes, sister. Come on to the chat, sister. Yes. So, Kamar, it's funny because Kamar actually joined me and Aura, who's in my house, for his very first Vogue session just last week. So he had the time of his life. It's a good time. So I'm glad that you're here for round 2, sis, because we're gonna be going. Okay. So we did hand performance, we did catwalks, we did duck walks. So now we can get into some floor performance. So floor performance, can be a lot of different things. but it's very very sensual. You know, you can do rolls, right? You can come back around, you can do fans, right? So it's basically everything you do on the floor. Everyone's floor performance is going to be different, but a basic one I like to teach folks is this one. So, how am I going to describe it? So we can start by putting one knee down. So get into this position. One knee is up, one knee is down, right? And what we're gonna do is the knee that is up, we're gonna loop it around to this side. You know, we're gonna loop it around to this side. So that's the first step, right? So loop it around to this side. So this is the starting. You're gonna go around here, okay? And then what you're gonna do is flip sides and do it on the other side, right? So I'm gonna break it down. So starting position, one knee's out, one knee's faced up, right? Your toes can be touching or be close, doesn't matter. And then you're gonna take this foot that is face up, you're just gonna go around, okay? Just gonna go around. And then to get into the other side, you're literally just gonna put this foot that's up, put it on the ground, and you're gonna just mirror what we did on the other side, right? Mirror what we did on the other side. And you're literally gonna bring it around, and then you just switch. If that's complicated, let me know. I can break it down even further. Or do folks genuinely understand what I'm saying? Yeah? Okay. So let's just practice that a little bit. So then around, bring it down, around. Bring it down, around. Right? So that's one thing you can do on the floor. Another thing you can do, it's another thing you can do. So you can do fans. So basically how that works is, this is my first time actually explaining how to do a fan. So when you're on the floor like this, you can almost bring your foot around like that, right? So it's essentially what we're doing with this, but instead you're using more of your leg. Yeah, yes, come on, yes. So you're essentially using more of your leg. So the same way that you use this foot to come around, you're gonna bring that foot up and around to do this, right? So that's a fan. It's a fan kick, right? So, but you always end in the same position. You're just fanning your feet instead, right? So that's one thing you can do on the floor. Another thing you can do on the floor as well, you can do a lot of stuff on your knees. So like what you saw with my duck walks, for example, you can do stuff like this where you tilt your knee up, you go up into something else, tilt your knee the other way, go up, right? This one's really fun. So you can do a lot on your knees. Like you can even spin on your knees, land in a dip, right? You can use a lot to transition on the floor. So the floor is a good place to transition because maybe you can do almost anything on here, right? So you can like go around, come up, spin, 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 dip, right? So it's a good place to transition. So yeah, I invite you folks just to practice that basic movement of this one and the fan kicks, right? Right. Yeah, so that's floor. So what I always tell people about floor is like, if you can be creative and think outside the box, and if you can do it on the floor, that's floor performance, you know? Anything on the floor is floor performance. So you can even do stuff like this with your feet, right? Making angles with your feet. This counts as floor as well. Anything you do on the floor. Go all the way around, right? You can even whip yourself around and up. So everything you do on the floor is floor performance. And the more creative you are, the more fun it is. Yeah, floor performance used to be really difficult for me, but when you learn about all this stuff you can do on the floor, like, so fun. So fun. Especially when you get into like sitting on your knees. Woo! It's a fun time. So yeah, practice doing stuff on your knees. You can even do stuff like this as well. So on your knees, you can bring one foot out, bring it back in, bring one foot out, bring it back in. You can go around. So like, right? Do stuff like this. This also counts as floor. Sitting on the floor like this, and then coming around. On your knees. So you can do stuff like that as well. That all counts as floor performance. So yeah, that's floor. So we can get into the last element now. Ooh, Carla, I'm breaking a sweat. So we can get into the last element now, which are spins and dips. So we can do a basic dip because I don't need y'all spinning into a dip and then hurting yourself and then, girl, because we don't have coverage like that. I'm sure UTSC doesn't have coverage like that either. So we're not gonna be hurting anyone in this session. So we're gonna do a basic dip position, okay? So when we start with the dip, right? Let me try and back up as much as possible. So when we start with the dip, again, on your tippy toes, right? You're gonna be on your tippy toes. You're gonna fall to the ground slowly, fall to the ground. And then from here, whatever side you're more comfortable on, you're gonna have to figure out for yourself because everyone's different. So for me, for example, I dip on my left side. So your left knee is gonna come down, boom, okay? So your foot's still doing this, and your knee's on the ground. You're gonna flatten the foot, and you're gonna sit back, not on the foot, but sit beside your foot. So your foot's almost hugging your butt, right? So it's this position. I'm also gonna get closer so you can see it. So when we're on the ground, right? Boom, so tippy toes, boom, boom, boom. Whichever knee, either your right or your left. For me, it's my left. You're gonna tuck that left, you're gonna put that left knee down. You're gonna flatten the foot, okay? You're gonna sit back, right? And then this part is the difficult part because you're gonna sit back, and as you're going down, you're going to extend your foot out, use your hands to catch yourself like this, right? And then you're gonna extend all the way back, and so you can see it like this. Your head is going to touch the ground. And make sure that foot that's in the air is pointed, because if it's not pointed, it's a chop. So point the foot. Make sure that the toe is pointed. And yeah, and then basically when you sit into it, head is gonna be on the ground, and you're gonna arch your back when you sit into the dip position, right? So the back is arched, right? Head's on the ground, foot out. And that's a dip, okay? So we can do it slowly. We can do it with the music playing. But yeah, we can do it real slow so you folks can get into it. And then I'll be going slow as well so you folks can see it, okay? Okay, so tippy toes, up. You're gonna sit down, knees, right? Figure out which side you dip on. For me, it's my left. Foot flat. Sit your butt on the ground. And extend. Let's see it, girls. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. And point that toe. Okay. And then make sure that, so for every dip that you do, let me pause it. Every dip that you do, right? So how I said that you accentuate everything on the crash, correct? So the dip essentially works as a period to your sentence. So you'd be doing something with your hands, you do a nice catwalk, you do a nice duck walk. And then when you dip on the crash, that is the period to the sentence. That is how you finish whatever it is you're doing. So, and the dip always has to be on the crash, because my love, if it's not on the crash, it's a chop. And if you get chopped, don't gag, because I told you. So The dip must be on the crash. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 crash. On the 4, you dip. Okay, so I'll show you. Right, so you basically it. Right. So the dips must always be on the crash. Always, 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 always. It's not an option. It has to be on the crash, okay? So, I can show you what a spin into a dip looks like, but we will not be doing that because it's an advanced thing. So the girlies are not doing that. But I will show you what a spin into a dip looks like, okay? So basically, we're gonna start off basically this way. So do this thing. Start like this. Some people just go right into it, but it's up to you, right? Right? So you spin into the dip. Right. So no matter how you accentuate the dip, you can spin as many times as you want. But as long as you're coming down, it has to land on the crash. And if it lands on the crash, you're good to go. Okay? So, who wants to put it all together? Just do a little 1, 2. Yeah? We can do a little 1, 2. I can just pump a beat and folks can just vogue in their room with the elements that I taught them. And then I can finish it off by carrying one last time, and then, we can wrap things up, okay? So yes, I'll pump the beat and we can just do what we want, okay? And feel it, get into it. Yes, Isaiah. Yes, Hiram, I better see some hands. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Yes, Kamar. You better do those figure eights, girl. Yes. Woo! Okay, folks. So, okay, you can unmute yourselves real quick. I want to hear some verbal responses to what they just experienced.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for teaching us. I have to say, it's a lot harder than I expected.
It's a lot more technique than people think it is. Because I'm sure a lot of people just see on TV people just doing these crazy dips. And remember, they're not called a death drop. They're not called a shawam or shablam. They're called dips, okay? And dips come from ballroom. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because they come from ballroom. Okay, so I'm glad that y'all got to learn some of the elements. I invite you folks to keep practicing because you know what? What you're seeing me do today, months, and months of practice. The Loubies practice every week, but especially for a category like performance, especially because I don't have a dance background whatsoever, you literally just have to, it's trial and error, figuring out what looks cute, figuring out what doesn't look cute, you know? So just like anything, you have to be bad at it to get good. Because if you saw my clips when I first started voguing, whoa, they need to stay in the archive, no shade. They need to stay in the archive very deep because girl, they're not cute. But yeah, keep practicing. You folks know the elements now. And if you have any questions or if you want to reach out to me to do a little Vogue workshop, little one-on-one, more than happy to do that because like I said, I don't need any excuse to start voguing because I love voguing. And then honestly, when you actually start to get good, it gets super addictive. Like you just want to keep getting better and better because it's so much fun, so much fun. But yeah, do people have any last questions before I just go off? Any questions from the audience? Anything? No? Everyone's cool? Cool. Okay. So I'm just gonna vote to just close us out. I'm just gonna do a little 1-2. And then, yeah, hope you folks had fun. And I'm gonna end the show with something cute, okay? Let's find a nice beat, a nice fun beat. So yeah, no matter what Vogue beat you pick, they're all variations of that same pattern, the 1, 2, 3, 4 crash. They're all the same. Even if it sounds sped up, even if it sounds like crazy, it's the same pattern. And once you hear the pattern, it gets a lot easier to catch it. So let's see this one. Okay. So that's it. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys had a good time. Reach out to me on Instagram and the social medias. I'll be sending Nicole the link for the TKBA, so you can reach out to her for that. If you want to learn how to Vogue, want to come Vogue in the park with me sometime, I'm always free, so let me know, okay? Mwah. Love you folks. See you guys later.